Hello, Mike. I'm Brooke Rhino with Game Time Leadership Solutions. For all of you listening to this demo, we believe that no matter what kind of challenges leaders face, that they should be able to take the mystery out of motivating people and overcoming those challenges. And today I have with me a good friend and the owner and developer of MRG Presentations, Mike Gibson. Mike, welcome to this recording, and thank you for participating in this to help others understand what the leadership game can do. And I'd really like for you to spend a couple of minutes just telling those viewing what you do, how MRG Presentations works, and give us a little bit of information about yourself.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me on. So I've been doing training for pretty much all of my adult life and in different environments. For the last 15 years, a lot of that has been focused on corporate training and municipal training, specifically focused on frontline workers, lead workers, and supervisors. Then, based on that experience, having to work with a lot of small groups in small rooms, I wrote a book called Big Presentations in Small Rooms that equips people to communicate effectively in those small room environments. So I love equipping people with practical tools that help them serve well and lead well. Of course, those two things go together. If you're going to lead well, you're going to have to be able to serve well too. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm excited to be here with you today to learn more about the leadership game.
Yeah, and I would encourage everyone to grab that book, Big Presentations in Small Rooms. It's just chock full of practical help. And each one of us who does any kind of presenting definitely needs to continue to sharpen ourselves, because you never really reach the apex of presenting. You've got to continue to work on things. So I appreciate that. I want to make my own assertion towards that, toward that book and toward your website, mrgpresentations.com, and allow people to go there too if they want to learn more about what you're doing there, Mike. Today's tool we're going to talk about that does help to serve. It brings a capacity of service to the team, in that this leadership game is more of an awareness tool. It's more of what you would call an assessment. And as leaders and team members share, it kind of lifts the group to a place where they're discussing leadership and communication blind spots that they may have. It allows them to connect and really understand their team members better, so they can serve better each other and serve the mission better. And I want to say that we're finding, Mike, in a lot of organizations, a lot of mental challenge, a lot of mental fatigue from the COVID that's been around now for quite some time. It's causing a mental illness really to be at a higher level. And workers are coming to their teams with a lot more stress, a lot more uncertainty. And this is causing communication breakdowns. It's causing people to even isolate some from teams. It's causing just people to kind of strain connections between each other. And this particular resource that we're talking about today really draws people in to a greater level of trust where it's being eroded in other ways. And Mike, if you'll allow me, I want to start by just asking if you have some other examples. I've given some examples of mental overload, but also, self-awareness and communication and leadership. What are some problems that you see out there that might need a tool like this that allows teams to really function in talking about leadership and communication? What's something that you may have seen as a problem?
Well, this was a problem that predated the pandemic, but continues to be a problem, and that is succession planning. Mm-hmm. Having good progressions in place so that if a supervisor promotes or leaves the organization, they have a pipeline set up that allows them to quickly fill that position, ideally internally. So there's someone ready to step up into that position. But what happens, unfortunately, often is that someone retires even. So this isn't a surprise. They've known this person was going to retire for the last 5 years or more. A person retires, and then they're looking around going, well, who are we going to use to fill this position? And because they haven't been aware or proactive about developing people for that position, they end up hiring externally. And that creates some frustration for those who perhaps could have stepped into that position, and maybe were waiting for this opportunity, but they hadn't been equipped for it. And there wasn't a good process in place to identify people who had desire and ability to step into that position. So I'm excited to look at the leadership game as a way of addressing that in a way that's positive and proactive to have good succession planning.
I think that's an excellent point too, especially sometimes with the complexity of a job that you're trying to success to another person. That complexity can be better shared internally if you're able to do that. And I think this resource will allow a leader like that who's looking to create that pipeline to be able to quickly see in their team members who's more ready, more willing, more understanding of what's going on, a better communicator. I think this tool will really help them to see clearly where, on what levels their team members are. So I hope that it can accomplish that. And I'd like to just remind you and all those watching that this tool really does help open trust as well. So as you're going through it, there's a tool called the Johari window, and I call it the trust model. And what it does is it opens a better future. And what you're talking about with succession planning is there's a potential unknown when someone retires or moves on. And in order to really get the most impact for that future that is coming, regardless of whether we know how to handle it all or not, and the COVID was a good example, that future was coming. None of us knew it, how to handle it. And the greater our trust is in our team, the better we can handle the future that is coming. And this tool just kind of shows 4 boxes, and the arena is kind of where you are in your team. And that's the open area of communication that is known to others and known to you, that you all share. And that's the real trust piece of a window. And the bigger that window gets, the greater the trust to go through whatever the future brings as your team goes forward. But all of us are, we have blind spots, and these are areas where I don't see this about me, but you would see this about me. And in this leadership game, some of these blind spots are revealed, and a person may not be aware that they come across a certain way. They may not be aware that they're not speaking up enough. And others may see that blind spot, but the person that is actually in the arena doesn't understand that about themselves. So one of the things that this does in opening that window is it helps remove some of those blind spots as the team plays and interacts together. Another part of opening that window is the mask. We hide things, and we don't do it necessarily aware that we're doing it. We're not necessarily consciously trying to hide things, but we do come with a certain mask of things that we don't necessarily think to tell people. We might even have some information that another team member could use, and for whatever reason, we're not allowing that information to come forward for the greater good of the team. And again, this leadership assessment, this leadership game, allows for some of those masks to come off, because as the trust grows, you're more willing to share into what you think you can do to help the team. And so what really happens is that window begins to grow, so that when this future comes down here, we've got a greater ability to trust one another. And I just wanted to point that out as one of the benefits of playing the leadership game. And as you're looking at succession, it'll not only help a leader see where certain team members are, but it'll really enlarge the trust window of everyone together. So I think that's just a little description of what we see happening when this game is played with teams. So Mike, if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and just get the leadership game started. And